Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new NVIDIA daily update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over NVIDIA stock. Let's go over what happened today in an absolutely wild day for NVIDIA stock. Very, very wild, very aggressive swings in both directions, only to close pretty much right in the middle of the overall price action swing, you know, the high and the low from today essentially. So yeah, let's go over it. I'll give you my thoughts moving forward. It's being surprisingly volatile. I mean, maybe not surprisingly, we had of course the earnings, but yeah, let's figure out what this means moving forward. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, with all that being said and done, if you enjoy my analysis, I do have a membership section on YouTube where I share my intraday thoughts, post updates every single day for just $3 a month, or for $5 a month. Sorry, for $3 a month, you get access to it, where I share mainly Tesla and other stocks and opportunities as well, like recently Pepsi. Or for $5 a month, you get access to all of that plus NVIDIA daily updates. But jumping into it, NVIDIA closing the day up actually, which is a nice thing to say compared to pretty much every other Mag 7, up about 0.5%, closing at 146.5, we'll just say dollars per share, which again, compared to the market, maybe slight underperformance, but nothing too crazy. Now, what does this mean moving forward, right? What does this mean moving forward for NVIDIA? Now, there are, again, good and bad news, right? There's definitely good and bad news. Now, my current projection, if you want to just kind of, very quick, very TLDR, what is my current projection for NVIDIA? I actually think, unfortunately, the stock doesn't go sideways. I think the stock will actually kind of go sideways for, honestly, potentially even a week or two. I think for the most part, that's what's going to happen. Anywhere between about the 137-ish range all the way up to about the $150 range. I think this range will be a sideways price action for the next little bit. That's my current assessment. We'll see if that actually plays out. Now, why is that? Well, you can see when we had the initial move up this morning, right? When we had that initial morning spike, NVIDIA, massive push up right into that trend line that we've been talking about, pretty much almost to perfection. Massive rejection right into the market bias, almost to perfection. And it held both of the areas, right? So essentially, it's now sandwiched in between a nice massive support with the market bias, but a massive resistance with the channel resistance. So it's going to be kind of sandwiched, in my opinion, between these two scenarios right now, this support and this resistance zone. And I think for now, NVIDIA, there's a damn good chance it kind of just goes sideways for a bit. It almost like digests what the hell just happened today, and especially with earnings, and it doesn't really do a whole lot. Maybe some volatile swings between those price ranges I just mentioned, but for the most part, as of right now, I expect some consolidation between the two ranges until at some point one of them gives. So what ranges have to give in order for either a bullish continuation to continue or some bearishness to finally really set in for NVIDIA? Let's talk about the bullish side first. NVIDIA, for the bullish continuation to really occur, at the very least, it needs to close back above 150, right? Minimum, I want to see a close above 150, but the most bullish scenario for NVIDIA is ultimately, at some point or another, not only closing above 150, but closing above about 155, which also would be roughly closing above this trend line that has been a resistance for, clearly, here, right? So obviously it started here, resistance here, and now we're acting as a resistance here. It wants to break above this. And if it can ever break out and north of this rising channel or wedge or whatever you want to call it, that to me is the like ultra bull case scenario. And I think NVIDIA will go much higher. That's the bullish scenario, right? But again, the reason why I think it can go sideways is because while everything kind of digests, and why I actually believe that there's a chance that some of the money can rotate into AMD and Intel, which have been beaten up beyond belief, that's where NVIDIA goes sideways. But then what that does is it opens up with this, assuming this rising channel stays intact, it opens up a scenario where NVIDIA kind of goes sideways, but then it can move up, maybe let's say somewhere in the early of December, right up into about that 155 region, which is also going to be right back up into that channel resistance. And then we'll of course reassess if and when that actually happens. That to me right now is kind of what I foresee happening. Sideways action into early December 155. That's my current projection. Let's talk about the bearish side, right? But what can the bears do here to, win the stock back into their favor, I guess, if that makes sense, right? Because I'm sure the bears want to tank this thing down, right? Absolutely, they do. I mean, that's kind of what the bears want to do. They want to tank a stock. Well, the thing that's bearish here is the fact that, well, the MACD is bearish. The MACD has flipped bearish, and despite, even as we were going fairly sideways here, and even as we kind of had this little move upwards like this right here, you can see the bears, the MACD, it pretty much has not really been doing a whole lot. In fact, I think it's actually been slowly deteriorating, right? Slowly making its way down, regardless on that bearish crossover. That hasn't changed, unfortunately, despite this little move up that we had the past, week roughly, almost we can say. That's not good, right? That's not ideal. Also, what you want to be watching out for is essentially this market bias. If we ever lose this market bias, that's going to be bearish, right? The 21 EMA, 8 EMA, watch for those as well on the daily chart. If we start losing those and the market bias, that's when things get really, really bad and potentially very bearish. Or if you want to just look at horizontal, typical trend and support resistance type levels, in my opinion, about 137 roughly, which is the low of this on Monday, right? The low of Monday was 137.15. You don't want to lose that. It's just that simple. You do not want to lose that, right? If we lose that, I think NVIDIA starts setting up what could be a bit of a bearish trend, because at the moment it's still setting up a bullish trend, right? Again, pretty much for like quite a while now. You can see all the way from down here, it's been setting nothing but higher highs and higher lows. And even today we set a higher high, which is good. That's a bullish sign. But if we ever lose the low that we set back here at about 137, we officially set a fresh lower low. And then there's a good chance we come up to about 144, 145 to set a fresh lower high. And then I think the bears start regaining control and we start a bearish pivot point. And that's something that you want to be really careful about, right? That's like the bearish thesis that, the bulls really want to avoid and the bears really want to accomplish. But like I said, as it stands right now, at the very least, until 137 is lost, I think NVIDIA is bullish. Now, before I used to always say 130. Why is it 137 now? Because we set a new swing low, right? We set a new a higher low. So as long as this new higher low stands, and as long as we do not set a fresh new lower low, it's bullish. The trend is bullish, and everything's looking pretty good in my opinion. So again, in my opinion, probably the most important level moving forward is going to be about that 137-ish range. And moving forward, at the very least, NVIDIA wants to close back above 150, ideally above 155 to break out of this potential rising channel slash wedge resistance. And that's probably the basic and most simplistic way of looking at it. But until one of these things happen, I do expect NVIDIA to kind of digest the news and kind of go sideways for now between about 150 and about 140. That's kind of that $10 range I personally expect NVIDIA to go sideways in for the next maybe week or two. I don't know how long. I'm not going to say how long. Nobody knows. But my guess right now is about a week, maybe two. That's my guess. Now, is there anything else? Let's go look at the options flow for NVIDIA as per usual. In terms of options flow, the bulls, as per usual, the bulls are always dominating the bears. The bears are pretty much always getting dominated by the bulls on NVIDIA. A lot of calls coming in for NVIDIA, very aggressive ones as well. The bulls are still dominating. Again, I have no reason to be actually bearish on NVIDIA. I don't think NVIDIA is bearish at all. 37 confirmed bullish flow. I think the stock looks great. But I do think that there's a chance to kind of go sideways and continues this little sideways price action before finally picking a direction until we break one of those levels I just mentioned before. So yeah, let's let that level play out for us. For now, I think it's going to be option seller paradise, and I will most likely begin selling options on NVIDIA here now that earnings is done. And I will continue playing this kind of sideways price action until a direction has finally been chosen, until one of those levels finally cracks, and that's what I'll be personally waiting for. But yeah, all that being said and done, let me know what you think down below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.